What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is going to be part 2 to the other plant video that I did earlier in the week, my last video, for the plants that I love, and this video is, but they don't love me. So, this is just going to be a video about all the plants that I really like, and I want them to grow to their full potential, but for whatever reason, whether it be care, the plant itself is just not a strong plant, because sometimes some plants can be good. You can have the exact same plant in 2 separate pots and one just does not thrive and one is doing amazing. So these plants for me are ones that I feel like, even though I love them and I try to give them as best care as I can, they just don't seem to love me. On this list I have 7 plants that just don't love me. Most of these plants that I have on this list, they are on this list because they don't grow, or they do grow but the leaves never get any bigger, or they just die no matter how many times I've had them. And I rebuy them because I want to try again, because like I said, I really like these plants, but they just don't like me. So the first plant on my list is going to be my silver sword philodendron, and it doesn't look bad, but if I tell you how long I've had this plant, you'll see why. Because I've actually had this plant for going on 2 years now, and this is the last leaf right here from the original plant. The rest of the leaves on this plant just kind of fell off all the way up to here on this stalk, and then a lot on this stalk. So this plant really, it's just not growing, and even the new leaves up here are not very big. They're kind of small, and it is constantly losing leaves. I don't know why. It gets good sun, it gets fertilized. I have a slow release fertilizer in it, and it has good soil. I never let it dry out too much, but for whatever reason it just doesn't want to grow. It gets new leaves though, so I guess maybe this one more is just it won't size up. But I'm going to keep working at it because the mature leaves are so beautiful. If you've seen the mature leaves on this plant, they get very lobus and longer, and it's nice. The next plant on my list of plants that just don't like me is actually kind of heartbreaking, because I traded a Thai constellation for this plant, knowing full well that this one does not have stable variegation, whereas the Thai constellation does. But as you can see, I already have a Thai constellation. I wanted another variant of the Monstera deliciosa, so I wanted to trade for an albo. This is the leaf that I originally saw. This was the leaf that was on the plant when I traded for it, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful, let me trade for it. And I gave them a 2-leaf, kind of baby size Thai constellation. If I still have a picture, I'll pop it up. But this is what I traded that plant for because of this leaf. And then unfortunately, it gave me this leaf after. And then after that leaf, by the way, it needs watering, so, but I've kind of given up on this plant because it's gave me that leaf after. And then I saw this leaf and I was like, oh my gosh, the variegation, it's starting to come back. Maybe we're doing something right. But then I got this leaf, and then I got this leaf, and this is the newest leaf. So I would say that this plant is well and true reverted, unfortunately. And as much as I hate to admit that, I feel like I definitely did not make a wise decision. But what can you do? Can't go back in time. You just have to live with our choices. And maybe one day I will have a very nicely variegated Monstera albo. I am going to try cutting this one back to see if maybe that helps to where the very last variegation was on it, and seeing if maybe that triggers some more variegation. I'm not ready to give up on this plant fully, but I am a little disheartened. The next plant on this list, I think it speaks for itself. It is watered, and I think it speaks for itself. This is my Scindapsus silvery. And as you can see, this is why I think it doesn't like me. And this is why, this is why, this is why. And if you're thinking, oh, well, yeah, of course, it's in like a huge pot, it's way too big. This was a full plant when I got it. And it's died so much that it looks like this pot is too big for it, and it looks like it should be in a 4-inch pot. This is a 6-inch pot, but it fit this pot when I bought it. And it just won't stop dying. I don't know what to do. It gets good light. It gets medium indirect. It sits like to the side of my south-facing window, so it's not directly in the rays, but it gets a good amount of sun. It sits next to the south-facing window, and it is also next to my back doors, which are west-facing, so it gets a good amount of light from all directions. Very ambient light. It gets fertilized. I don't let it dry out. It just, for some reason, this one does not like me. And anytime I take cuttings from it, they won't root. They'll be in water, they'll be in soil. I've tried perlite. They just don't root, and then eventually they just die after a couple months of not rooting or doing anything. So I have no idea. I might gift this one away and try and get just a new version, like a different plant of the same plant, and try again. But because I do really like this plant, it's so beautiful, but this one just does not like me. It just does not like me. The next plant that I have is actually cuttings, because the mother plant of it started to go downhill very, very fast. I'm talking like multiple leaves dying per week, and I had no idea what was wrong with it, so I just cut it back to whatever I could save, and the cuttings themselves are also not doing very well. I just spilled it all over myself. Didn't realize it was that full. Okay, anyways, this is the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, and I think it's the not tissue culture version, because the leaves are like way more round. I have a picture of when it was like in its peak, in its prime, 2021 summer, when it was in like its peak, what I would say was its peak performance. So here's the picture of that, and this is what it is now. And this was all I could save of it, because it was just going downhill so fast. I don't really know what. I'm just gonna hope it's roots, but I've had it in water for a couple weeks now, and it's just not doing anything except killing the leaves. I don't know. This plant, I will say though, is probably my lowest on my like plants that I love list, so I'll be sad if it dies and I can't like reroot it, but I won't be heartbroken, because these ones are actually pretty common where I live, so I could get them in like the grocery store or at like a plant nursery around me. A lot of them have them, but they won't be the non-tissue culture ones, they're the like pointier ones, but I'm just kind of, it's more of like a failure type of thing. I'm really sad. I haven't killed a plant in a long time, and this might be my first one in a long time. So my next plant actually isn't doing too bad, considering what the plant is. I only have like 2 types of this kind of plant, so I'm definitely a novice with this type of plant. It's not one that I would say like philodendron or like monstera that I'm fairly good with, I would say. This one is my Calathea orbifolia, and it doesn't look too bad. See, this is one of those ones where it doesn't look bad, but it has a new leaf, but it also is just not like getting bigger, because these plants, I don't know if you guys have seen a mature picture of these plants, but they get really big. The leaves get huge, and I am hoping to get it that way. But as of right now, I'm actually just kind of happy that it's still alive and still growing. I don't have it in like the brightest of light, which I probably should if I wanted it to get bigger, but for right now, I'm really happy with it. It just doesn't seem to want to grow, and I don't know what to do. I did just add a slow release fertilizer into it, so hopefully after a few weeks, it'll start showing, hopefully, if that is a good thing for it. And maybe in my maybe I'll have like a year update video or something on my plants, and this one might be in it. That would be cool. Hopefully it'll be gigantic by then. But I still really like this plant. The silver, the sheen, the leaves, the markings on them, they're so round. I just like it a lot. And I hope it will grow to like me a little bit more too. The next plant on this list actually isn't doing too bad. The only problem I have with it is, well, let me just show it first because this is one of my favorite Scindapsus. It is the exotica because it doesn't take much for the leaves to get big. It doesn't need to climb for the leaves to stay big. And it's just really beautiful, especially in, wow. Actually, this looks great in this video. Maybe it shouldn't even be in this list. Okay, no. See, the problems that I have with it, though, are the reasons I think it doesn't like me. It's because every time I water it, it kills a leaf. Every single time. Every single time. This plant actually was a lot smaller, so it has grown since I've gotten it. It didn't used to vine like this, but every time I water it, it kills a leaf. I have tried watering it where it doesn't get super dried out. I've tried watering it where the leaves curl. I've tried waiting until it's an inch or two dry from the surface, and I just don't know. It just doesn't want to keep leaves for some reason. It just wants to kill them off. And it's not growing fast enough for each time I water it, the leaves to die, because if it keeps up, it's going to be a very sparse plant like the Scindapsus silvery. And I just really would hate for that to happen because I do love this plant a lot. I've had it for a couple years now, and I want it to get very lush and beautiful, and ideally I would just like it to be at its full potential. And I'm hoping one day it will be if I can figure it out. If you guys have any tips for Scindapsus, because I love Scindapsus and their dark green silver leaves, but I just can't figure out their watering because they're supposed to be very similar to pothos and epipremnum, but I don't know. I just can't figure them out for some reason. I really can't. So leave me some tips on this, on the exotica, on the silverian, and Scindapsus just in general. But I'm not buying Scindapsus until I can figure this one out specifically, because this one's super common. So if I kill it, I can get another one, and I can just keep practicing and practicing until I figure them out. And then maybe I will buy more, because I have seen the Silver Hero. That one looks pretty nice, and some other ones that I've seen. But yeah, so this is my Scindapsus exotica in a 6-inch pot. The last plant on my list is one that is considered to be of the easiest houseplants to keep. Up there with the epipremnum / pothos. I always say pothos. It's supposed to be up there with the pothos as the easiest houseplant to keep. And for whatever reason, this plant for me, it grows leaves. But it never, ever, ever grows past what it looked like when I first got it. So this plant specifically that I'm holding is a stand-in for the entire genus of plants, and that is syngoniums. Just syngoniums in general. This is my, I think it's the confetti. It's never grown past this. Go ahead and guess. Guess how many years I've had this. Come on, just go ahead and guess. I've had this plant for 3.5 years. It's been in any kind of lighting. You name it, it's been in that kind of lighting. It's been in humid conditions, it's been in dry conditions, it's been in south-facing windows, it's been next to south-facing windows, it's been in and next to west-facing windows. I had it in a north window at one point for a while, and I leave it in I've had it in a morning sun. I've had it in the east windows too. I leave it in these windows for a couple months so it can like acclimate, and it grows new leaves. Like, look at this right here. It grows new leaves, but it just doesn't get any bigger. I have no idea. I don't know why. I love syngonium. I think they're beautiful when they trail, when they climb. I think they're magnificent, and I won't stop trying with them because I think they're beautiful plants, but I don't know. This is the exact same pot. I have repotted it with different soil, but this is the exact same pot that I bought it in 3.5 years ago, and it still fits. There's no roots growing out of the bottom. Okay, so there is just a few, like tiny amounts, but like, can you guys give me tips? Because I can't figure syngonium out. I've given it bright light, I've given it dim light, I've given it watering it all the time. When it's even just slightly dry, I've let it dry out fully. It's a lot like Scindapsus in that way, except at least my Scindapsus start to trail eventually. But this one is like 3.5 years old, and I've seen people have their plants go from this to like massive. And I know we're not supposed to compare plants because everyone's houseplant journey is different, but it's hard to compare when you love a plant so much and it just doesn't love you back. I've seen people's plants go from this size to like triple, 4 times the size in like 6 months. These plants are supposed to grow really fast and they're supposed to be super easy, but I just cannot figure them out. So if you have any tips on how to figure these syngoniums out, I would love to hear it. I am all ears. I will take any suggestion you have because I just want these plants to be beautiful. I have quite a few of them around my house, and they're all doing the same thing. They're not growing. None of them are. I have an albo. I have I believe a holly, I think. The one that's like white with like cream type coloring. I have this pink confetti one. I have the berry illusion. I have the all pink one. I want to get some of the like more expensive ones, but I don't want to risk them just like not doing anything. So I'm gonna wait until I can figure these out, and I'm gonna keep trying. This is a hill I will die on. I will never give up on these syngoniums because they're beautiful. They're beautiful, and I want them to be big, and I want them to grow and succeed in life. Okay, so that was all of my plants on the list of but they don't love me back plants, and I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope that this was a nice conclusion or follow-up to the first video. If you guys haven't seen it, I will leave it down in the description so you can go watch that one first, because this one kind of is in relation to that one, and I would just like to see what you guys have to say about some of these plants and some of your care tips, because please help me. I've been a plant hobbyist for probably 7 or 8 years now, and some plants I can't figure out. I wouldn't say I'm a professional. I would say I'm probably like up there with like advanced beginner, but there's just some plants that I cannot figure out and I need help. So if you guys have any tips, leave them in the comments for any of the plants that I showed you today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed my last video. I hope you'll come back for my next one. I can't guarantee it's going to be plant related, but I can guarantee it might be fun. So subscribe maybe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.